Twitter and I saw this come up, and I'm like, fam, there's no way Chiney Ogwumike is on ESPN lying and taking up for AT, man. It's always something on ESPN, always. And then Chiney, she don't have so many moments with the Fever and Caitlin Clark. She don't apologize. Now she back at it again. This is crazy what I'm seeing, man. This is crazy.
That right there is a reaction to a single ESPN segment. The league had just suspended Alyssa Thomas for hitting Caitlin Clark in the throat. And on national television, one of ESPN's most prominent analysts spent the segment turning that suspension into a conversation about officiating, optics, and whether Clark embellishes contact. The same analyst who, 1 year earlier, had to post a public apology. So what exactly did she say this time?
Officiating has been a universal issue this year, and that's not the goal of any league, but this is the reality. And when you think about the imperative to call more fouls, we're seeing the highest scoring season ever in WNBA history. That's largely because they're calling more fouls, right? Games are no longer 2 hours, they're 2.5 hours long. So you're seeing that there's an imperative.
Now, give her this much. The officiating point is real. The WNBA is calling more fouls than ever. Games are running longer, and scoring is up across the board. Stephanie White, Clark's own head coach, spent the entire offseason on a league referee task force, asking for one thing: consistency. So if Chiney Ogwumike had stopped at the officiating is a mess, nobody clips that. The problem is where she took it next.
Alyssa Thomas, Caitlin Clark, both dominant players, but Alyssa plays on the edge. I know her, and Caitlin sometimes embellishes at times in certain instances.
So we're going to stop right there. Just real quick. You see how she's talking about, yeah, I know AT, she plays on the edge. I know her. Man, say she plays dirty. Just say it, just call it for what it is, man. We saw.
There it is. Alyssa Thomas plays on the edge, and then, in the same breath, Caitlin Clark embellishes. So look at what actually happened on June 24th. During a scramble for a loose ball at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Thomas's closed fist made contact with Clark's throat. She then got up and stepped over her. No foul was called in the moment. The next day, the league upgraded the play to a flagrant 2 and suspended Thomas, the first suspension in her 13-year career, calling it a reckless, non-basketball act. That is not a flop. That is the league's own ruling.
Stop, man. Just stop.
And so when you have a scrum, like you said, there needs to be a hyper-vigilance, but also this created a position where the league is now forced to be reactive. And instead of having a control of not just calling fouls, now the league is reacting and doing something that it rarely does on a non-call and instituting a suspension. And to me, that was unique. But I'll lastly say this, because that largely happened because of the optics. In game flow, if you're watching in game speed, I was watching in game.
And this is the part that should make you sit up. Ogwumike's framing is that the league only acted because of optics. A freeze frame, a still image, a viral clip. But the people who watched it live did not need a screenshot. Stephanie White called the no call egregious and absolutely unacceptable, on the record, minutes after the game. Lisa Leslie said the officials have to do better. And here's the twist. Even Mercury coach Nate Tibbetts went the other direction and complained the suspension came from social media screenshots. So everyone agrees optics were involved. They just cannot agree on what those optics actually showed. Hold on to that word, optics. Because a year ago, this same analyst was on the complete opposite side of it.
Can we take a trip back in memory lane, man? Do y'all remember when the investigation went down about the racist stuff in, I guess, the Indiana Fever's arena? Do y'all remember that, right? And remember, a lot of us was saying, yo, y'all are just reacting to what some of these fans on social media are saying. Some of them weren't even in the arena, and y'all are saying y'all heard noises. Y'all started that investigation off of what fans were.
Here is the callback. Rewind to May of 2025. After the Fever's home opener against the Chicago Sky, allegations spread online that fans had directed racist comments at Angel Reese. The WNBA opened an investigation. And on May 27th, after reviewing game audio and video and speaking with fans, team staff, and arena staff, the league said plainly it could not substantiate those claims. At the time, Ogwumike had gone on ESPN and spoken forcefully. She relayed that Sky players and coaches had reported hearing things that were out of bounds. So back then, she was comfortable with the league moving on contested, social media-driven claims. Now, when the league acts on a play the entire arena watched, suddenly it is all about reckless optics. That is the contradiction the host keeps pointing at.
First, the fans. That is something that is at the core of everything that I do. But if you know me, you know I'm not afraid to say I can do better. I am sorry that my message was in the heat of the moment, because when I initially spoke on the topic, it really came from a place of care. It was based on firsthand conversations with people very close to the situation who raised real concerns, and they told me what they had experienced. And I felt like it was important and it was necessary to acknowledge those allegations.
And we do not have to guess how that 2025 situation ended, because she told us herself. After the league found nothing, Ogwumike posted a roughly 90-second video saying her message came from a place of care, that she spoke in the heat of the moment, that it was based on first-hand conversations with people close to the situation, and that she could do better. Credit where it is due, she owned it. A lot of people in that seat doubled down, and she did not. But the backlash was enormous. Critics from Dave Portnoy to Megyn Kelly tore into the apology, and some viewers openly called for ESPN to take her off the air. The host's argument is not that one apology is the crime. It is that a pattern is forming, and we are watching the next chapter of it play out in real time.
In that situation, if you're watching it in real time, both players who are known to make their issues known got up and kept going.
That was my
so
thing.
that's why I have a problem, because if you're looking at the reaction even to this day, it breaks my heart, because players, even in Alyssa Thomas's caliber, whether you think she did it intentionally or not, she's dealing with a heightened level of vitriol right now based off of what this situation created, and that is...
This is the line that set everything off. She says it breaks her heart watching the level of vitriol aimed at a player of Alyssa Thomas's caliber, and empathy for any athlete getting piled on online is fair. But here is the question the host keeps circling back to. Where is that same heartbreak for Caitlin Clark? Because in that same June 24th game, Clark tweaked her back, wore a wrap, went back to the tunnel, and left in the third quarter, and she still finished with 19 points and 8 assists in only 20 minutes on the floor. And then there is the factual problem. Ogwumike claimed both players simply got up and kept going. The host pulled the tape, so watch what Clark actually does.
Every game. But look at this, man. She just said Caitlin got up and didn't react, right? Watch what happens. Alyssa stepping over her, doing the nonsense. Watch what she does when she get up. She's getting up. First thing she does is hold her hand up at the ref, right? Of course, ref not paying attention. That's Angelica, by the way. Same ref. I'm like, yo, y'all need to investigate. But they come down.
Let me put the whole picture together, because the tape is where this argument lives or dies. Ogwumike described a scene where both players got up and moved on. But watch Clark in that breakdown. The first thing she does when she rises is throw her hand toward the official, then turn back toward her bench, then keep pleading her case instead of getting into the play. You can argue about intent all day. You cannot say she had no reaction, because the footage shows a very clear one. And when an analyst's description does not match video, the whole internet can pull up in 5 seconds. That is the credibility problem in a nutshell. I want to be fair here, because this is exactly where these breakdowns usually go off the rails. There is a real case on the other side, and you deserve to hear it. The Phoenix Mercury, through Nate Tibbetts, have defended Thomas hard. He said the one thing she is not is cheap. He pointed to a 13-year career with 0 prior suspensions. He openly questioned whether the league's review was even thorough. Thomas built her entire identity on brutal, body-to-body basketball, and some of what looks vicious in a still frame is genuinely just how she has always played. If you want to argue the contact was incidental inside a 4-body pileup, that argument exists. The league simply did not buy it, and neither did most of the people inside that building. Here is why this is so much bigger than one segment. Caitlin Clark has been getting hit at an extraordinary rate since the day she walked into this league in 2024. Last season, Marina Mabry's technical against Indiana got upgraded all the way to a flagrant 2 after the fact. This season, in the game just 2 nights before the throat hit, there were 6 technical fouls and an ejection, and Clark picked up her 5th technical of the year, which the league refused to rescind. Her own coach stood at the podium and said the quiet part out loud, that Clark is not officiated the same way everyone else is, that is not a fan with a poster, that is the head coach of the team, on the record after the league had already acted. Now think about the weight an ESPN voice carries in a moment like this. A random take on social media reaches a few thousand people and disappears by morning. A take on Get Up or SportsCenter sets the narrative for millions and gets stitched into 100 other clips by lunch. That reach is exactly why words get measured so carefully, and it is exactly why a framing that lands wrong does not just fade, it detonates. And this one detonated everywhere, not in one corner of the internet. Lisa Leslie called out the officials. Sophie Cunningham went after the refs for failing to protect Clark. Outlets across the entire spectrum hammered the analysis. When you have lost that many people across that many lanes at once, the issue probably is not the audience. There is also the backdrop that makes any comment about Clark explode on contact. She and Angel Reese have been linked since their college finals, and the conversation around how Clark gets treated on the floor has carried race and gender undertones since her rookie year. That is the charged environment every analyst is walking into. So when the most physical, suspendable moment of the season gets reframed as Clark embellishing and the league overreacting, it does not land as basketball analysis. It lands as picking a side in a culture war that was already at a boil. And the host's deeper point is really about trust. He argues this is not the first time he has felt the reed tilt one direction. He brings up older moments, like a college scoring comparison, where he says she got the numbers or the framing wrong. You can take that part or leave it, because that is his interpretation, not a league ruling. But the throat contact, the suspension, the no call, the apology last year, the flip on optics, none of that is opinion. All of it is documented, on the record, and easy to verify in about 30 seconds. So step back and the why becomes obvious. Caitlin Clark is the single most valuable asset this league has ever produced. She moves ratings, she sells out arenas, she sits at the center of a media rights era worth billions of dollars. That turns every hard foul into a flashpoint, every analyst's sentence into a referendum, and every apology into a headline. The physicality is real, the officiating crisis is real, and the media framing around both has become its own battlefield. Thomas's hit did not start that war. It just handed everybody a freeze frame to fight over. Watch what comes next, too. Thomas serves her suspension against the Toronto Tempo, the Fever play on without knowing how healthy their franchise player's back really is, and that referee task force Stephanie White sits on now has every camera in the sport pointed at it. If nothing changes, we are right back here in 2 weeks with another freeze frame and another segment. So here is the real question, and you are going to have to actually pick a side. Was Chiney Ogwumike doing honest analysis of a messy, genuinely physical play, or was she, one more time, bending the story to protect everyone except the player who was on the floor? You cannot say both. Tell me where you land in the comments, because I read them, and if these breakdowns are the reason you trust what you are watching, hit the like, hit subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.